You're about to witness something that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about strength, resilience, and the power of self-identity. Imagine this: a crowded school hallway, the kind where every glance feels like it matters, every conversation carries weight, and the pressure to fit in is crushing. In the midst of this chaos, a girl stands, her head wrapped in a stylish wig, the weight of her secret hidden beneath it. But then, a boy steps forward, with laughter in his eyes and cruelty in his words. "What's under there, huh? Are you too scared to show your real hair?" The words hang in the air, sharp and cutting, and the girl freezes. In that moment, it feels like the whole world is watching, like her entire sense of worth is being shredded right in front of her. But what happens next is something that will not only shock you, but will make you rethink how we judge people based on appearance and what real courage looks like when it's faced with ridicule. You might be wondering, what could possibly happen after a cruel remark like that? What could someone do when they've been put on the spot, when the weight of their condition is exposed and the world seems set to laugh? Well, in this moment, she does something no one expects. The girl, with grace and power that might surprise you, slowly begins to peel off her wig. The gasps of her classmates echo through the hall. And that's when you get to see the truth: her real hair, or rather, the lack of it. A completely bald head, smooth and unadorned. Now, here's where things get interesting. This isn't just about the wig or the hair. It's about the confidence that she radiates the moment she takes it off. You might be thinking, how could someone be so bold in a situation like that? What happens next is a powerful twist that will leave you in awe. Because in that very second, the boy who mocked her realizes something that will change everything for him. What happens next, though, will make you think twice about bullying, about standing up for yourself, and about the stories that we don't see when we judge others from the outside. The girl doesn't just stand there. She does something far more unexpected, far more impactful than anyone in that hallway could have imagined. Now, if you think you know what's going to happen next, hold on. This story isn't as simple as it seems. It's not just about a bully and his victim, not just about a wig being taken off. It's about the power we all have within us to defy expectations, to rise above the things we cannot change, and to challenge the judgments of others. You're about to see what happens when someone finally decides they won't be defined by others' perceptions, no matter how harsh or cruel they may be. You won't want to miss the powerful moment that happens next. Stay with me, because the true power of this story lies in what happens when this girl takes off her wig and faces the world with courage that you've probably never seen before. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why her bravery is something that should be celebrated, and why I want to share the story with everyone you know. But here's the thing, you don't just want to know what happens next. You need to. Stick around, because in the next few minutes, you're going to learn a lesson about respect, strength, and the power of self-acceptance that will stay with you long after the video ends. So, what happens when the girl with alopecia takes off her wig? You're about to find out. But be warned, what you're about to see is not what you're expecting. What happens next might just change your perspective on how we treat others, and how we should all be treating ourselves. Let's dive in and discover the truth. The truth about the girl in the hallway wasn't just about the wig, and it wasn't just about her alopecia. There was so much more to her story, a story that no one seemed to notice, no one seemed to care about, and yet it was the very story that would make everything make sense in the end. She wasn't a stranger to judgment. In fact, she had been facing it her entire life. From the moment she first noticed her hair thinning when she was just a little girl, she had become acutely aware of how others saw her. Her parents had always tried to reassure her, telling her that beauty wasn't about what was on the outside, but what was on the inside. But how do you hold on to those words when the world outside only cares about what's visible, what's obvious? In middle school, things had taken a darker turn. The teasing had started small. It was the whispers in the locker room, the stares that lasted just a little too long in the cafeteria, and the looks of pity that made her feel like a stranger in her own skin. By high school, the teasing had turned into mockery. The wig became her shield. It wasn't just a fashion statement, it was her armor. It allowed her to step into the world and not feel like everyone was staring at her, judging her every move. It wasn't perfect, but it was what she had. And most days, it worked. She learned how to smile through it, how to laugh along with the jokes, how to keep the pain locked away where no one could see it. But the thing no one knew was that her wig wasn't her only secret. The night before this fateful day, she had received a message from an anonymous account. Are you going to keep hiding behind that thing forever? Or are you brave enough to show the world who you really are? At first, she thought it was just another cruel joke, another random comment from someone who didn't know what she had been through. But the more she thought about it, the more she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to this message. It wasn't just about her appearance. It was about something deeper, something that made her question everything she had been hiding behind. But what she didn't know was that the boy who mocked her, the one who had called her out in front of everyone in that crowded hallway, had been carrying his own burden. His name was Tyler, and on the outside, he appeared to be just like any other popular kid in school, confident, loud, and always the life of the party. But what no one knew about Tyler was the pressure he felt to live up to his father's expectations. His father, a local business owner, had made it clear from the moment Tyler could walk that he expected him to be a leader, to be tough, to be the best. And if there was one thing that Tyler had learned over the years, it was that showing weakness was unacceptable. At home, he could never let his guard down. If he wasn't excelling in school, sports, or social situations, he felt like a failure. His life wasn't his own. It was a reflection of what others expected him to be. And that pressure made him lash out. Maybe that's why, when he saw the girl with the wig standing there, he couldn't resist the urge to make a joke. Maybe it was his way of deflecting his own insecurities. But as the day wore on, Tyler found himself growing uneasy. He couldn't shake the image of her standing there, her head bald, her eyes not full of tears or shame, but full of something he hadn't expected, strength. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that maybe she wasn't the only one hiding behind something. Maybe he was, too. It was then that he started to notice things he hadn't before. Her confidence. The way she carried herself despite everything she had been through. The way she had refused to let him see her crumble. But there was more. As Tyler walked through the halls of the school after the incident, he couldn't help but notice something strange. Whispers followed him. Students were talking, not just about the girl and her wig, but about him. It seemed like everyone had noticed what had happened in the hallway. Some were whispering that he had gone too far, that he had embarrassed her in front of everyone. Others were saying that she had handled it better than anyone could have expected. But then, there were the whispers that made Tyler's heart race. Did you see the way she looked when she took off the wig? Did you notice who was sitting next to her at lunch the other day? There was talk of someone else in the school, someone connected to her in ways that no one seemed to understand. Someone who had been watching her for months, but never really spoke to her. The tension was rising, and Tyler couldn't help but feel like he was missing something. The girl's reaction had thrown him off course, but now, he was beginning to feel like there was more to her than just alopecia. Was it possible she had been hiding more than just her hair? And if so, who was this mysterious figure everyone was talking about? This wasn't just about a boy making fun of a girl. No, there was something bigger at play here. Something dark, something hidden beneath the surface, and Tyler, like everyone else, was about to get caught in it. He didn't know it yet, but the girl he mocked in front of all those students was about to reveal a truth that would change everything, for him, for her, and for everyone who had been watching. And the more Tyler dug into her story, the more he realized that this wasn't just a random incident. It was part of something much larger, something that had been unfolding for years. As Tyler began to dig deeper into the girl's story, he started feeling a strange sense of unease. At first, it was a simple curiosity, a desire to understand what had made her so different from the others. But the more he uncovered, the more unsettling it became. It was like peeling back the layers of an onion, only to realize that the deeper you went, the more it stung. Tyler couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious whispers he had heard after the hallway incident. People had started speculating about who she was really connected to. There was something about her, something that didn't add up. It wasn't just about alopecia, it wasn't just about her bald head or the wig she wore. There was something darker, something hidden behind those eyes of hers. He decided to follow the clues, to investigate further. But the more he tried to uncover, the more obstacles seemed to appear out of nowhere. It started with a strange occurrence in the school library. Tyler had overheard a conversation between two students, one of whom mentioned seeing a piece of evidence that could reveal the truth about the girl. It was an old letter, one that had been tucked away in an old box in the school archives. Tyler's heart raced as he made his way to the library, hoping to find it before anyone else did. But when he arrived, the box was gone. It wasn't just that the letter was missing, it was the way it had disappeared. Tyler spoke to the librarian, who seemed unusually nervous, almost avoiding his gaze. "It's been checked out," she said, but something in her voice made him think she wasn't telling the full story. The letter hadn't been checked out by any student he knew, and it wasn't in the system. There was no record of who had taken it, no paper trail, no way to find it again. It felt like someone was deliberately blocking his path. Someone didn't want him to know the truth. Frustrated but determined, Tyler tried to approach the girl, the one who had been the center of it all. Her name was Emily, and for some reason, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something important she wasn't telling him. Every time he tried to talk to her, she would dodge his questions, or worse, change the subject altogether. She had become even more distant since the incident. The confident girl he had seen that morning, the one who stood tall and fearless in front of him, now seemed to be retreating into herself. It was as if the wig had been her shield, but now that it was gone, she was vulnerable, hiding behind walls that were hard to break through. Just when Tyler thought he might give up, hoping the mystery was too deep to uncover, something unexpected happened. Emily, of all people, approached him. She seemed different this time, quieter, more deliberate. She pulled him aside, away from the crowd, and for a moment, Tyler wondered if she was finally going to tell him everything. But then, with a voice that barely rose above a whisper, she warned him. "You don't want to know what's really going on. You don't want to get involved in this. You have no idea who you're dealing with." The words sent a chill down his spine. Who was she trying to protect? What was it that she was so afraid to reveal? Before he could ask anything else, Emily turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd before Tyler could react. Her warning hung in the air, a stark reminder that whatever was going on, it wasn't just a simple case of bullying. There were darker forces at play, things that had been hidden for far too long. The next day, Tyler's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from an unknown number, the message simple yet cryptic. "Stop digging, Tyler. You're not ready for the truth." He stared at the screen, his heart pounding. Who was sending him these messages? Was it someone from school? Or worse, was it someone who knew far more than they should? The message made his blood run cold, and for the first time, Tyler wondered if he had bitten off more than he could chew. Just as the message began to sink in, Tyler got a call from his friend Alex, who had been helping him piece together the mystery. "Tyler, you've got to stop. I don't know what you're getting yourself into, but it's bigger than you think." Alex's voice was urgent, shaky even. Tyler had never heard him sound like that before. "I don't know if I should tell you this, but I think someone's trying to stop us. I think someone's been watching us. I don't know who, but I've been getting weird texts too. This isn't just about Emily anymore." Before Tyler could respond, the call abruptly ended. He dialed Alex's number again, but it went straight to voicemail. Panic began to set in. Something was happening, and whatever it was escalating fast. There was a shadowy force at work, trying to bury the truth before it could ever come to light. But what truth? What was it about Emily that was so dangerous? What was she hiding? Tyler knew he was running out of time, but the deeper he dug, the more it felt like the ground was slipping from beneath him. People were warning him, people were vanishing, and pieces of the puzzle were disappearing right in front of his eyes. Was someone trying to protect Emily? Or was someone trying to protect themselves from the secrets she was carrying? The more he thought about it, the more the whole thing felt like a trap. But who was the trap for? And who had set it? There were too many unanswered questions, and Tyler was starting to wonder if he was in over his head. Just when Tyler thought the situation couldn't get any more complicated, another bombshell was dropped. This time, it wasn't even directly related to him, but to his best friend, Alex. Tyler hadn't heard from him since the phone call had ended abruptly, and the silence had been gnawing at him. He knew something was wrong, but when he saw Alex at school the next day, it only raised more questions. Alex was acting strange, almost paranoid, glancing over his shoulder as if someone was watching him. His eyes were bloodshot, and there was a nervous energy in his movements. When Tyler tried to approach him, Alex immediately brushed him off with an excuse, claiming he was fine, but Tyler could tell something was seriously wrong. It wasn't until lunch break that Tyler learned the truth, or at least part of it. As they sat down at their usual table, Alex leaned in close, his voice barely above a whisper. "I got a message too, Tyler," he confessed. His words hit Tyler like a punch to the gut. "I didn't want to tell you, because I thought it would make things worse, but I think you need to know." Alex showed him his phone, and there, clear as day, was a message similar to the one Tyler had received. It wasn't exactly the same, but the message felt eerily familiar. "Stop digging, Alex. The truth is more dangerous than you think." It was chilling, and what made it even worse was that Alex had received this message at the exact same time Tyler had been sent his. But that wasn't all. Alex had noticed something else that Tyler hadn't. Just like the missing letter from the school archives, Alex had stumbled across another strange coincidence. The day after Tyler had started asking questions about Emily, Alex had witnessed something odd in the school parking lot. He had been walking back to his car when he saw a man, one that neither of them recognized, speaking to Emily's mother. Alex swore the man looked out of place, not someone who belonged in their town, not someone who should have been anywhere near their school. He hadn't thought much of it at first, but after everything that had happened since, it seemed more than coincidental. Tyler's heart started to race as Alex continued. "I didn't want to get involved, but I saw that guy talking to Emily's mom, and it didn't sit right with me. Then when I tried to ask Emily about it, she completely shut me down. She got so defensive, it was like she was hiding something. And now, with these messages, Tyler, we're not just digging into her past anymore. We're digging into something much deeper." Tyler tried to piece it all together, but every answer only led to more questions. If Alex had received the same threat, what did it mean? Was someone trying to silence both of them, or was there a deeper connection between the two of them that neither had realized yet? And why had Emily's mother been talking to a stranger? Tyler's mind raced through a dozen possible scenarios, each one darker than the last. Was Emily involved in something criminal? Was her family connected to something shady? Could the mysterious man have been sent to intimidate them? Or worse, to stop them from uncovering whatever Emily was hiding? The more Tyler thought about it, the less everything seemed to add up. The messages, the strange behavior from Emily's family, Alex's cryptic warning, it was all spiraling into a tangled web of uncertainty. And then, just as Tyler was about to confront Alex, something happened that would change everything. While Tyler and Alex were talking in the school hallway, a third text came through. This time, it wasn't from an unknown number, but from Emily herself. "You're getting too close. Stop before it's too late." The words were cold, final. And just like that, Tyler's stomach dropped. This wasn't just about Emily anymore. This was about something far larger, something bigger than either of them. Why would she send a message like that? Was she trying to warn him? Or was she threatening him to stay away from the truth? Tyler couldn't shake the feeling that Emily was involved in something dangerous, and the more he uncovered, the deeper he seemed to be sinking into a situation he might not be able to escape from. As the hours passed, the tension only grew. Tyler was starting to question whether Emily had been manipulating him all along, whether her calm exterior was just another layer of deception, hiding something far more sinister. Was she involved in a criminal scheme? Was there something about her past that was far darker than anyone could have imagined? Or was she the one being controlled, caught up in a web of lies and manipulation that she had no way of escaping? With every new revelation, Tyler couldn't help but feel like he was being pulled deeper into something far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. And then, just when it seemed like Tyler was getting closer to the truth, something unexpected happened. The mysterious man Alex had seen speaking to Emily's mother had vanished without a trace. No one remembered seeing him leave, and there was no record of his car being parked anywhere in the lot. It was like he had never been there at all. Tyler's head spun. If the man hadn't been real, if the entire conversation had been fabricated somehow, what did that mean? Was it all part of some larger plan? The deeper Tyler dug, the more uncertain he became. Everyone seemed to be hiding something, and each clue only led to more confusion. No one was telling the whole truth, and with every answer, it felt like the walls were closing in around him. Was he just chasing shadows, or was there something far more sinister going on? The stakes were rising higher, and with each twist, Tyler felt like he was losing control of the situation. As the days wore on, the tension hanging over Tyler became unbearable. What had started as a curious investigation into the strange behavior of Emily and her family was now something much darker, something that threatened to consume him. Tyler had tried to put it out of his mind, tried to convince himself that maybe he was overreacting, that the threats were just empty words meant to scare him. But deep down, he knew that the closer he got to uncovering the truth, the more dangerous things were becoming. It started with the feeling that someone was always watching him. At first, it was just a fleeting sensation, a momentary glance over his shoulder when he was walking to class or heading home. But then it became more persistent. One afternoon, as Tyler was walking home from school, he saw a black car parked at the corner of his street, the engine running. He thought nothing of it at first, chalking it up to coincidence. But the next day, the same car was there again, parked in the same spot, its windows tinted dark enough that he couldn't make out who was inside. The third day, it was there again. And that's when the unease began to sink in. Was someone following him? Or was it just his mind playing tricks on him? Tyler tried to brush it off, but the sense of being watched never left. The following afternoon, as Tyler was walking to his car, he heard footsteps behind him, slow, deliberate, too quiet to be anyone he knew. He turned around, but there was no one there. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up, and for the first time in days, he felt a rush of cold fear grip him. He hurried to his car, scanning the surroundings, but everything seemed normal. Or at least it appeared that way. Tyler tried to shake off the feeling, telling himself that it was all in his head. But something wasn't right. He couldn't deny it anymore. Someone was watching him. The next day, things took an even darker turn. It was after school when Alex disappeared. They had planned to meet up to discuss what they had found, to go over the new pieces of the puzzle they had uncovered together. Tyler had been waiting for nearly an hour when he finally texted Alex, asking where he was. No response. Tyler tried calling, but the phone rang out. At first, he figured Alex had just gotten caught up in something, but when it grew dark, a sense of dread washed over him. Alex never just disappeared like that. Tyler knew something was wrong. He decided to drive over to Alex's house. His heart pounded as he turned the corner onto his street, but when he pulled up to the driveway, something was off. The front door of Alex's house was wide open, and the lights inside were flickering. No sign of Alex. No sign of anyone. Tyler's stomach twisted. He got out of the car and knocked on the door, calling his friend's name. No answer. He stepped inside, the house eerily silent, except for the faint hum of the lights above. As he walked further into the living room, Tyler noticed something strange. The TV was on, but the channel was static. The coffee table was overturned, and a book lay open on the floor, pages torn out. His heart raced as he walked toward the back of the house, but when he opened the door to Alex's room, it was empty, except for the strange message written on the wall in bold, red letters. "Stay away. You're next." Tyler's blood ran cold. The message was clear, and for the first time, he realized the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just about Emily anymore. This was about something far bigger, something that had already ensnared Alex, and now, Tyler was caught in its web too. His phone buzzed in his pocket, and when he pulled it out, there was another message, this time from the same unknown number. "You've been warned. Keep digging, and you won't make it out." Tyler's hands trembled as he read the words. The threat was real, and whoever was behind it wasn't playing games. Alex was gone. There was no sign of him, no clue as to where he had gone or who had taken him. Tyler's mind raced. Was it connected to Emily's family? Had they been hiding something far worse than he could have ever imagined? Who were the people behind these messages, and why were they so determined to stop him from uncovering the truth? The fear began to consume him. Every shadow felt like a potential threat, every passing car like someone tailing him. His thoughts spiraled out of control. How had it escalated so quickly? Just days before, everything had seemed so simple. Emily had been just another girl in his class, and Alex had been his best friend. Now, everything was shrouded in mystery, and Tyler was starting to feel like a pawn in a game he didn't understand. Someone was pulling the strings, someone who had been orchestrating everything from the beginning. But who? Tyler's phone buzzed again, but this time, it wasn't a message. It was a call, an unknown number. His heart skipped a beat. Should he answer it? Was it a trap? But he couldn't ignore it. With shaking hands, he pressed the green button and brought the phone to his ear. There was a pause on the other end, followed by a low, gravelly voice that sent chills down his spine. "You're in too deep now, Tyler. You don't have a choice. Stay out of this. You've been warned." The line went dead before he could respond. The walls were closing in. Tyler was alone. His best friend had vanished without a trace, and the people behind all of this were sending him direct threats. He couldn't trust anyone anymore. Everyone seemed to be hiding something, and everyone was a suspect. Were Emily and her family in on it? Was there a darker force at play? And where was Alex? Tyler realized he was no longer just trying to uncover a mystery. He was fighting for his life. The danger was real, and if he didn't act fast, he might disappear the way Alex had. Every move he made from here on out would be under scrutiny, and the risks were higher than ever. But there was no turning back. The truth was out there, and Tyler knew that if he wanted to find it, he would have to face whatever, or whoever, was lurking in the shadows, waiting to silence him before he could uncover the secrets that had been buried for so long. Tyler was on the edge, his every move shadowed by the creeping sensation that someone was always watching. His mind raced, turning over every possible lead, every piece of evidence. But with Alex gone, the walls seemed to close in tighter, the truth just out of reach. The messages, the threats, the mystery behind Emily's family, everything was tangled up in a web he couldn't escape. The more he dug, the deeper he sank into a sea of uncertainty and fear. But it was the call from Alex's mom that would unravel everything. It had come just as Tyler was beginning to feel like he was suffocating under the weight of it all. The phone call had been unexpected, the kind of call that sent a chill through his bones the moment he heard her voice. Alex's mom had always been a warm, caring presence, someone Tyler trusted, someone who had always treated him like family. But this time, her voice was strained, desperate even. She told him that she had found something in Alex's room, something Tyler needed to see. At first, Tyler thought it was just a clue to Alex's whereabouts, some tangible evidence that could lead him to his friend. But when he arrived at her house, what he found was not what he expected. The room was quiet, almost too quiet, and Alex's mom was sitting in a chair by the window, holding a small, worn envelope in her hands. The letter inside was the key to everything, though Tyler wouldn't realize that until it was too late. She handed him the envelope, her hands trembling as she spoke. "I didn't know whether to show you this, Tyler, but I think you need to know the truth." Her voice cracked as she handed over the letter, and Tyler's stomach tightened. He unfolded it carefully, the paper crinkling as he read the message inside. It wasn't from Alex, but from someone else entirely. "You've been looking in the wrong places, Tyler. The answers you seek aren't where you think they are. You've been playing right into our hands. You're not the one being hunted. You're the hunter." The words hit him like a ton of bricks, leaving him frozen in place. His heart raced, his thoughts scattered. What did it mean? Why was Alex's mom handing him this? Was she involved? He looked up at her, trying to make sense of what she had just revealed. "What is this? Who sent this?" he demanded, his voice shaky. But before she could respond, something strange happened. She suddenly stood up, her expression hardening. "I didn't want to tell you this, but you need to hear it now, Tyler. I wasn't just worried about Alex. I was worried about you." Tyler's mind spun. "What are you talking about? Why? Why are you acting like this?" Her eyes hardened as she took a deep breath. You've been looking for answers in the wrong places. Emily? She's not who you think she is. And neither am I. Tyler's stomach dropped. What was she saying? You've been chasing shadows, Tyler. All this time, you've been investigating the wrong things, believing you were uncovering a secret. But the truth is, you're part of the plan. The people you've been so desperately trying to figure out, they've been watching you all along. I've been watching you too. Tyler's mind was reeling. Was she implying that she had been part of this from the beginning? That she knew more than she had let on? He opened his mouth to say something, but no words came out. His mind was in overdrive trying to piece together what was happening. Alex's mom stepped closer to him, her voice low, almost regretful. You think this is about Emily's family, about those threats and messages. But that's just a distraction. You've been played, Tyler. You've been used as a pawn in a much bigger game. She paused, then added, Alex found out the truth, and that's why he disappeared. They took him because he was too close. But you? You're still a part of it. They're going to come for you too, and soon it will all be over. Tyler's chest tightened as the weight of her words crashed down on him. No, this can't be happening. This can't be true. You're not a part of this. But her expression remained unchanged. You don't understand yet, but you will. You were never meant to find Alex. You were never meant to find the truth. You're the one they want. You're the one they're trying to keep in the dark. Tyler took a step back, his mind whirling in 1,000 directions. What was she saying? He had trusted her. She had always been so kind, so protective. But now everything felt like a lie. Was she really a part of this dark network? Was Emily's family involved in something deeper, something he never could have imagined? Just as he was about to demand more answers, the room door suddenly slammed open, and Tyler turned to see a figure standing in the doorway, someone he had not expected to see. It was Emily. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with regret, and she looked like she had been running. Tyler, you need to stop. You need to walk away before it's too late. Her words were a whisper, but they hit him like a thunderclap. What do you mean? He gasped, his head spinning. She stepped forward, her eyes darting nervously between Tyler and Alex's mom. I didn't want this. I didn't want you to get involved. I didn't want Alex to get involved. But you're too close now. You have to let it go. Tyler felt his legs weaken beneath him. Everything he thought he knew was crumbling before his eyes. His trust in Alex's mom, in Emily, in everyone around him was shattering. Was this a setup from the start? Was everyone pretending to be something they weren't? Had he been manipulated from the beginning? Emily's eyes filled with sorrow as she stepped closer. They're coming for you, Tyler. They're not going to stop until you're gone. You have to run. You have to leave. Please, for your own sake. Tyler's heart was racing, his mind torn between disbelief and sheer panic. But before he could say another word, the door behind him slammed shut, and he was left standing there, unsure of who to trust, unsure of where to go, or even what to believe anymore. Was Emily protecting him, or was she just another piece in a larger, more dangerous game? The truth, once so close, seemed more distant than ever. Every question led to more confusion, and Tyler's entire world seemed to be built on lies. One thing was certain now, there was no turning back. And whatever had started this twisted series of events was far from over. Tyler stood frozen, the weight of Emily's warning still heavy on his chest as the door slammed behind him. His mind swirled with confusion, dread, and disbelief. Everything he thought he understood, everything he believed about the past few days, was crumbling in front of his eyes. He had been digging for answers about Alex's disappearance, about the strange messages, about Emily's family, but now it felt like the deeper he went, the more lost he became. Every path led to more questions, and each answer he uncovered only tangled him further in the web of lies and manipulation that surrounded him. But it was the next morning that pushed Tyler into a place he could never have anticipated, caught between the desire to uncover the truth and the overwhelming fear of what it might cost him. He sat in his car, staring at the same street he'd driven down 100 times before, his thoughts racing. Emily's warning kept replaying in his head. They're coming for you. They're not going to stop until you're gone." She had said it so calmly, almost as if she were resigned to it. But Tyler didn't feel calm. His heart was beating erratically, his palms sweaty as the weight of his choices started to settle in. He had no idea where to go next. No idea who to trust. He couldn't go to the police. Who would believe him? He couldn't even trust Alex's mom anymore, not after what she had said. His mind screamed at him to turn away, to walk away from everything and let it go, to save himself. But there was a part of him, a part that burned with the need for answers, that refused to just give up. Alex was out there, somewhere, and he wasn't about to let his friend vanish into the shadows without a trace. He had to know what had happened to him and why. That's when the phone call came. It was a number he didn't recognize, but the voice on the other end was unmistakable. It was Alex's voice, shaky and filled with an urgency that sent a cold chill down Tyler's spine. "Tyler, you need to listen to me. Don't trust anyone. Not Emily, not my mom, not anyone." Tyler's breath caught in his throat. "Alex? Where are you? What's going on? You're scaring me." There was a pause, a long silence that felt like an eternity. When Alex spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "I'm not safe. They're watching me, Tyler. I don't know how much longer I have. But there's something I need you to do, something I need you to find." Tyler's pulse quickened as his mind raced to process the gravity of what Alex was saying. "What do you mean? What do you need me to find? Remember what I told you about my uncle? The one I said was involved in all of this? He's the key. He's the one behind it all. But if you get too close, you'll be next. They'll come for you." The line went dead. Tyler sat there, staring at the phone in his hand, a pit forming in his stomach. His friend, the one person he thought he could trust, was warning him to back off. But how could he? How could he walk away when everything he had worked for, every piece of evidence, every discovery, was pointing him toward a deeper, darker truth? It was like the walls were closing in on him, and he was running out of time to figure it all out. That night, Tyler couldn't sleep. His thoughts spiraled as he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the dark shadows in his room echoing the uncertainty that had overtaken his life. He kept thinking about his conversation with Emily earlier. How had she known? How had she known to warn him? Was she part of it too? Was she in danger? Or was she playing him, just like everyone else? And then there was Alex's mom. Tyler's gut twisted with suspicion. Was she really just an innocent bystander, or was she somehow involved in the conspiracy? The questions kept piling up, and the more he thought about it, the more impossible it seemed to figure out who to trust. He felt like he was standing on a cliff's edge, with nowhere to go but down. If he stayed in the game, kept digging for answers, he was risking his own safety and possibly his life. But if he walked away now, if he let it all go, would Alex be left behind? Would he disappear without anyone ever knowing the truth? Tyler couldn't live with that. He couldn't be the one who gave up on his friend. But in doing so, he was about to make a choice that would change everything. The next morning, Tyler received a message that set everything in motion. It was from an unknown number, the message short but chilling. "Stop asking questions. If you don't, it will be your last mistake. There's no going back from here." The message was a threat, a warning. It was clear that whoever was behind this was watching his every move, ready to strike if he got too close to the truth. And yet, even as Tyler stared at the screen, a part of him knew that backing down wasn't an option anymore. He had to confront someone close to him, someone who might hold the answers he desperately needed. The only question was, who? Emily was the obvious choice, but he couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. Alex's mom, too, was a wild card, someone who had been involved in this whole mess for far longer than Tyler realized. The two of them were tied together in some way, a knot he hadn't been able to unravel. But if he confronted the wrong person, if he made the wrong move, he might never get the answers he needed. And worse, he might end up in even more danger. The weight of the decision bore down on him. The stakes had never been higher. Whatever happened next, there was no turning back. Tyler was about to make the hardest choice of his life. Should he confront Emily? Should he risk his safety to confront Alex's mom? Or should he try to track down the mysterious Uncle Alex had warned him about? Each path led to a dead end. Each choice could be a trap. The uncertainty gnawed at him as he tried to weigh his options, the fear of what would happen if he made the wrong choice pushing him to the brink. Would the truth be worth it? Was it worth putting his life on the line to uncover the secrets behind Alex's disappearance? He didn't know. He didn't have the answers. All he knew was that time was running out, and someone somewhere was counting on him to make the right choice. But what if there was no right choice at all? What if every option led to the same dark fate? The tension in Tyler's chest grew tighter with every passing second. He had no choice but to pick a path, no choice but to move forward, no choice but to risk everything to find Alex and the truth. But in the back of his mind, a voice whispered, "Maybe there's no escape. Maybe you're already too deep." Tyler's heart pounded as he hurried through the dimly lit hallway of the building, the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He had no idea what he was about to walk into, but every instinct told him that this was it, the point of no return. The walls seemed to close in tighter with each step, and the buzzing in his ears drowned out everything else. He had followed the breadcrumb trail of clues all the way here, and now it all led to this moment. The truth was just beyond reach, but it didn't come without consequences. It never did. He had gone to Alex's mother's house that afternoon, hoping for answers, praying that somehow, someway, she had information that would piece everything together. But what he didn't expect was the coldness in her eyes when she answered the door. He didn't expect the way she looked at him, as if he were the enemy, as if everything he had believed about their connection, their bond, had been a lie. She hadn't even asked him inside. Instead, she had told him, flat out, that he needed to leave for his own safety. And when Tyler pressed her, when he pushed for the answers he knew she had, she snapped. The moment she slammed the door in his face, he had a gut-wrenching feeling that something was horribly wrong. That's when it hit him. The people he thought he could trust, Emily, Alex's mom, even the friends they'd shared over the years, might all be playing him. No one was who they seemed to be, and the deeper he dug, the darker the truth became. Something far bigger than Alex's disappearance was going on. Something that connected them all, his friends, his family, his life, and the ominous figures in the shadows. The conspiracy was so much larger than he could have ever imagined. And now, they were circling him, ready to close in for the kill. Tyler's phone buzzed in his pocket, and he hesitated for just a second, his mind too clouded with questions to process what was happening. But when he glanced down at the screen, his blood ran cold. The message was from Emily. "You need to stop looking. I'm begging you, don't make it worse." There was no time to think about it. No time to second-guess. Tyler hit the reply button and typed, "Where is Alex?" His fingers shook, and for a brief moment, the weight of everything, his fears, his questions, the constant sense of dread, pressed on him harder than ever before. But the reply came almost instantly. "It's too late. They know about you." He couldn't breathe. Too late. They knew. Who? What did she mean? Tyler ran a hand through his hair, trying to make sense of it all. That's when the door to the apartment building creaked open. He whirled around, his heart leaping into his throat, only to find someone he never expected standing in the doorway. Emily. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. But before he could say anything, before he could ask her what was going on, she shook her head. "I never wanted this to happen," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder as if making sure no one was watching them. "But you've gotten too close. There are things you don't understand, Tyler. Things you'll never understand." The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Emily, the one person he thought he could rely on, had just confirmed what he'd feared all along. She had been involved in this from the start. His mind raced, the pieces clicking together in a way he never anticipated. The messages, the warnings, the cryptic calls. Emily wasn't just a bystander. She was part of the conspiracy. And worse, it seemed like she had been watching him the entire time. Tyler took a step back, his hands shaking with the realization of what she was admitting. But before he could demand answers, before he could scream at her for the betrayal, There was a sharp sound, a loud bang, followed by the sound of footsteps racing toward them. Emily's face drained of color as she grabbed Tyler's arm, pulling him away from the door. "Run," she hissed. They didn't have time to ask questions, to figure out why she had betrayed him or why she was suddenly helping him escape.
They ran.
Tyler's heart was hammering in his chest, the pounding in his ears growing louder as they sprinted through the alley behind the building. He barely had time to process what was happening before Emily shoved him behind a dumpster, her hand pressed over his mouth to keep him quiet. He could hear the footsteps now, closing in fast. Whoever was after them wasn't wasting any time. They were close. Too close. "Do you trust me?" Emily whispered, her breath ragged from the sprint. Tyler didn't know how to respond. The betrayal stung, the weight of her involvement in this entire mess suffocating him, but at that moment, he had no choice but to nod. He couldn't think of any other way out. "I'm sorry," she said softly, eyes filled with regret. "I never wanted you to get dragged into this. But you're too far gone now. They're watching you. They'll stop at nothing to make sure you don't expose the truth. They have eyes everywhere." Tyler's head was spinning.
Who were they?
Who was she working for? And why did she suddenly seem like the only ally he had left? Before he could ask, the faint sound of voices reached his ears. They were getting closer. Without warning, Emily grabbed his hand and dragged him down another narrow alley, her movements quick and decisive. Tyler had no choice but to follow. As they rounded the corner, Tyler's mind was reeling, every step pulling him deeper into a world he wasn't prepared for. A world where nothing made sense anymore. And as Emily led him toward a hidden door at the back of an old warehouse, a door that no one had seen in years, Tyler realized the truth he had been searching for wasn't just about Alex anymore. It was about something far bigger, something much darker. And someone, somewhere, was watching him, waiting for him to make one wrong move. The stakes were higher than ever, and time was running out. But no matter what he did next, he knew one thing for sure. The truth had already started to change him. And there was no turning back. The storm had been brewing for hours, the sky turning dark and angry as Tyler stood at the entrance to the abandoned warehouse, his heart racing with a combination of dread and anticipation. Emily had left him at the door, giving him one last look before disappearing into the shadows. He didn't know if she was leading him into a trap or if she had genuinely come to her senses and was trying to help him. Either way, the time for questions had passed. The truth, whatever it was right in front of him, hidden behind the rusted steel doors that creaked ominously in the wind. Tyler pushed the door open slowly, every creak of the metal echoing through the vast emptiness of the warehouse. The smell of dust and decay hit him immediately, and the silence felt thick, suffocating. But then, through the gloom, he saw him. A tall figure standing motionless in the center of the room, his back turned. Tyler didn't need to guess who it was. He knew instantly. It was Marcus, the one person whose name kept popping up in the tangled web of lies and deceit. The mastermind behind it all. The person who had orchestrated everything, from Alex's disappearance to the games he'd been playing with Tyler's mind. "Thought you could escape, huh?" Marcus's voice was cold, smooth, and full of venom. "You were always the last piece of the puzzle, Tyler. I knew you'd eventually come here. You've always had a knack for getting to the heart of things, even when you didn't want to." Tyler took a step forward, his fists clenched at his sides, his body tense.
Why?
Why all of this? Why Alex? Why me? Marcus finally turned to face him, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips. His eyes were like ice, devoid of empathy or any trace of humanity. "Because you were never meant to be in this game. I needed someone to challenge me, someone who would dig too deep and expose the cracks. You were always too curious, always asking the right questions, and I couldn't have that. You became a liability. But don't worry, Tyler. You're not alone. It was never just about you." Tyler's pulse quickened, and the fog of confusion lifted for a moment. "What do you mean it was never just about me? What are you really doing here? What's the plan?" Marcus stepped closer, his voice now a low whisper, as if savoring every word. "It's not just about Alex or you. It's about something much larger than both of you. Something that's been going on for decades, and you've only scratched the surface. But you're too late, Tyler. You're all too late. The operation is already in motion. Before Tyler could react, a sound from behind him made him freeze. Footsteps. Slowly, deliberately. He whipped around to find Emily standing there, her expression unreadable. She held something in her hand, something that gleamed ominously in the dim light. It was a file. The file that Tyler had seen in the security footage earlier, the one that Alex had been carrying when he disappeared. "No," Tyler whispered, his eyes darting between Emily and Marcus. This was all you?" Emily didn't respond. Her gaze was cold, distant, and there was something about her that felt like a stranger. She wasn't the person he had trusted. She wasn't the person who had helped him escape.
She was part of this.
And the worst part was, she was no longer the person he thought he knew. Tyler's heart sank. He had always suspected there was something off about Emily, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. She was in on it all along. The betrayal cut deeper than anything he'd ever felt. And now, standing here, he realized he had no one left to trust. "Tyler, you don't understand," Emily said, her voice trembling slightly. "I had no choice. You don't know what they'll do if you keep digging. The stakes are bigger than just you and me." "But you didn't have to lie to me, Emily," Tyler shouted, his voice rising. "You didn't have to get me involved in this. Drag me into this mess." Emily didn't reply. Instead, she handed him the file. Reluctantly, Tyler took it, his hands shaking as he opened it. Inside was a list of names, dates, and documents. But it was one piece of information that caught his eye, a photo of Alex, taken just days before he disappeared. His face was bruised, his eyes wide in terror. And beside him, standing in the shadows, was Marcus. Tyler's stomach churned. You did this to him?" he asked Marcus, his voice shaking with anger. "What did you do to Alex?" Marcus's smirk widened. "He was always a means to an end. Just like you. A stepping stone. And now it's your turn, Tyler." Everything in Tyler's body screamed at him to run, to escape while he still could. But as Marcus moved closer, a chilling realization dawned on him. There was no escape anymore. The conspiracy had grown too large, too dangerous, and now they were cornering him. The walls were closing in, and the file in his hands suddenly felt like a weight too heavy to carry. Then, just as Marcus took another step forward, a loud crash echoed through the warehouse. The door slammed open, and the sound of rushing footsteps filled the air. Tyler barely had time to react before a group of armed men flooded into the room, their faces masked, their intentions clear. Marcus's smirk faltered for a split second, but then he regained his composure. Tyler knew, without a doubt, that the game had just changed. He wasn't just fighting for answers anymore. He was fighting for his life. With everything in motion, everything unraveling before him, he saw one last twist, the one he never expected. The leader of the group of masked men stepped forward, and Tyler's blood froze in his veins. It was Alex.
Alex alive.
And everything Tyler thought he knew shattered in an instant. Now, with the truth more convoluted than ever, Tyler faced his greatest challenge yet. The conspiracy wasn't just about power or control. It was about something deeper, something far more sinister than he had ever imagined. And the people he trusted the most, Marcus, Emily, Alex, were all just pieces in a much larger, more dangerous game. Tyler had no idea who was playing whom, but one thing was for certain. The endgame was now in motion, and nothing, no one, was safe. The warehouse had grown eerily silent after the chaos, the dust settling like a shroud over the shattered remnants of Tyler's reality. He stood there, surrounded by betrayal, confusion, and a truth that was far more complicated than anything he had imagined. Alex, standing before him, was the final piece in this monstrous puzzle, and yet, seeing him alive felt less like a victory and more like an unraveling of everything Tyler had ever believed. His friend, his brother-in-arms, was standing right in front of him, but there was no recognition in his eyes, no sign of the person Tyler had once trusted. Alex was a ghost, caught between the man he had been and the monster he had become. Alex, why? Tyler's voice cracked, the weight of the question suffocating him. Why the lies? Why did you disappear? Why did you let me think you were gone? Alex's gaze flickered to the ground for a moment, his face tense, 1,000 emotions crossing it before he finally spoke, his voice low and strained. Because, Tyler, I had no choice. They did this to me. I didn't want to pull you in, but you were always going to find out. I was trying to protect you. From them. From this. His eyes swept the room, scanning the shadows that seemed to close in on them both. I didn't know how deep it went, how dangerous it would get. But I should have known better than to think I could just disappear. I thought I could save you, but now I've put you right in the center of it all. Tyler's fists clenched, his mind racing. Everything he had learned, everything he had gone through, was a lie. The conspiracy was bigger than he ever realized, and now it felt like the pieces were all slipping through his fingers. But there was one question he had to ask, the question that had been haunting him since the beginning, since the moment he found that file, since Emily handed him that last piece of the puzzle. And Marcus? What about him? He was behind all of this, wasn't he? You were all working for him, weren't you? Alex shook his head, his face twisted in anger and regret. No, not exactly. Marcus wasn't the mastermind. He was just a pawn, just like the rest of us. There's someone else pulling the strings, someone even more powerful than Marcus, someone you've never met, someone you'll never know unless you're ready to sacrifice everything. We were never meant to win, Tyler. We were never meant to escape. The revelation hit Tyler like a ton of bricks, but before he could process it, before he could ask the questions that were piling up in his mind, the masked men closed in. He knew he had no time left. This was it. The endgame. Emily, her face pale and her eyes full of guilt, stepped forward, her steps slow and hesitant. Tyler, I'm sorry. I never wanted it to go this far. But it's too late. You need to let this go. There's no point in fighting anymore. No one's walking away from this. Tyler could feel the weight of her words, but deep down, he knew it wasn't just about walking away anymore. It was about surviving, about finding a way to live with the choices they had all made. This wasn't a story of redemption, of heroes rising from the ashes. It was a story about the truth, about the devastating cost of knowing too much, and about the lengths people would go to protect themselves from the darkness they had unleashed. As the tension in the room escalated, something inside Tyler snapped. He wasn't going to run anymore. He wasn't going to play the victim or let them control him any longer. This had gone too far, and it was time to take back whatever piece of his life was still left. He looked at Alex, at Emily, at Marcus's absence, and made a choice. The truth might never be fully known, but there were some things that had to end here.
Right now.
I'm done, Tyler said, his voice steady, his resolve hardening. I'm done hiding from whatever this is. If I have to face it alone, I will. But you're not taking me down with you. Not today. With that, he turned, ready to face whatever would come next, but as he took the first step toward the exit, the lights suddenly flickered, and the floor beneath his feet seemed to shift. He glanced back, just in time to see a figure in the shadows, someone he hadn't expected. Someone who wasn't supposed to be there. Someone who had been pulling strings all along, but who, until now, had remained hidden in the background. The figure stepped forward, and Tyler's heart skipped a beat. It was someone he had once trusted, someone who had been watching him from the start, guiding him, even protecting him in some ways. But now, with the mask slipping, the truth was undeniable. Tyler, the voice echoed through the cold, empty warehouse. You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? The figure revealed themselves, and in that moment, the final truth shattered everything Tyler had believed. The person standing before him wasn't just another enemy. They were the key to the entire conspiracy, the one person who had been manipulating everything from the very beginning. The very person who had been closest to him, who had shared his life, his trust, and his secrets. The ground seemed to slip out from under Tyler as the weight of betrayal pressed down on him once more. But just as quickly as the revelation came, the room began to spin, and the story was left unfinished, left unresolved, hanging in the air like a breath held too long. Was this the end of the game? Or was it just the beginning? The truth was out there, but it was too dangerous to chase, too risky to uncover. Tyler had one last choice: continue the fight, or walk away and let the past remain buried. And as the story closed, one thing was certain. Sometimes, the truth is too powerful to handle, and some mysteries are better left unsolved. The screen went black. The story was over, but the questions lingered, unanswered, forever etched into the minds of those who watched.